Hello, Ryan here, AK Mac, and welcome. So finally, the roadmap has been officially updated, no accidental leaks. It's a pretty significant update, so in this video I shall just break down only 3.3, so we know exactly what is intended for the next phase. I will do a separate video highlighting what is coming for the rest of the year and next year, but for now let's just take a look at what is slated to come in October. So for characters, there are two new mission givers coming. We've got Rico Battaglia, who can be found in Levski. She's at 16 out of 31 tasks complete. And Clovis Darnili, who will be found at Lawville on Hurston's planet. He's currently only at 1 out of 19. But for each of these mission givers, clothing, props, environments, performance capture, the lines, their audio, their animation, and the mission contents all need to be hooked up and working. We have seen some of Rico before, I'm pretty sure. The RSI Odyssey flight suit rework, so the current flight suits that we have, they are going to get brought up to date with the new standard. That's at 1 out of 13. The Virgil True Def Pro armor set, this includes a new undersuit, the torso armor, the legs and the arms, and a new helmet. That's at 14 out of 20 tasks complete, so that's getting close. And finally for characters, the Hurston clothing collection, pretty much like what we saw with the Olisar collection, just a series of clothing including tops, pants, hats, shoes, jackets, all these sort of things, which add a bit more depth to the Hurston planet. Currently sitting at 140 tasks out of 154 complete, so that's actually pretty close as well. Now on to locations. We've seen recently a lot of the Hurston and its moons on around the verses. Now each of Hurston's moons are in the polishing phase, which means that the work for them are complete, and it's now just undergoing the playtesting and QA. So these four are Ariel, Magda, Aita and Aberdeen. They will all be explorable with their own atmosphere and landscape, each populated with outposts, wrecks and other points of interest for us to discover, plus having missions based around them as well. Very excited to check them out. Rest stops, these are the stations that we'll be able to visit on long duration flights for refueling, for shopping and even logging off. I believe there'll be some sort of habitation pods on there if your ship doesn't have a bed, so you'll be able to go and log off and log back in when you have more time. So this is at 24 out of 32 tasks. Quite close with that one. Lawville, which is the primary landing zone on Hurston, is at 43 out of 121 tasks to go. So there's still a bit of work yet for that one. But it will be populated with NPCs, there'll be new missions there, and also stores where you can go and buy and sell stuff. So the Hurston planet itself is at 58 out of 73 tasks, and again it will be populated with the points of interest, positioned around. Remember that this is a much larger body compared to the moons that we're used to, so it's going to be big with lots of different biomes, of which we have seen the latest Savannah biome, which I'm very excited to explore. So on to gameplay. Now the ship system degradation is the first one. This is implementing wear and degradation to components, causing reduction in performance and even misfire events, which will then be required to upgrade them. This is at 1 out of 2 tasks complete, so they're halfway there. Scramble race missions we have seen recently on ATV. This is a weapons-free race to earn the most points by gathering either checkpoints or taking out other races. Currently at 18 out of 28. The CIG devs say that they're playing it now and it just feels so fun. Improvements to retrieval and delivery missions. So making sure that these missions are more logical to the locations and what you're picking up. Plus the lockers where you can leave the boxes instead of having to use the admin offices, meaning they are free for station-specific deliveries. That's currently at 3 out of 8. FPS combat missions, which allows players to engage with enemy targets on the ground or in ships to add a little action element to some missions. These are going to be AI elements. This is at 19 out of 30, and I am, for one, very excited for this. It just means you've got to be a bit more cautious and maybe requiring teammates and crew when you're venturing off to try and pick up boxes and search wrecks. Asteroid mining, which is self-explanatory, is at 8 out of 14 tasks. Mining improvements, which is just improving the current planetary mining experience, is at 17 out of 29 tasks. For shipboard ping and scanning, which just allows for a much larger distance of ping, differentiating between the ping behaviours per signature type and expanding the information received from scanning vehicles, is at 13 out of 28. The transit system, which is just improving the transfer between various map sections such as doors, elevators and airlocks. Hopefully this means it stops the glitchy animations as you transition between them. That's at 10 out of 17 tasks, so there's only 7 left to go. Arena Commander and Star Marine REC rentals. We've seen again this on the most recent ATV, which is the ability to rent ships, items and weapons from the main menu using your rental equipment credits. That's at 2 out of 8. Hopefully this is the first step to getting it into the PU, I expect. Once they get it all hooked up in Arena Commander and Star Marine, they can sort of transition much of that across to the persistent universe. Group system improvement, so implementing the new Mobiglass and Visor chat systems, plus the UI, that's at 14 out of 30. Improving the turrets again, so just further improvements, including input controls and feature toggle, is at 1 out of 8. Still doesn't quite feel right. No fly zones. Now this is used to encourage you to venture out on foot or via land vehicles, instead of just simply flying and landing everywhere. Plus it ensures that players don't just fly through major landing zones and cause annoyance for other people. That's at 1 out of 10. And then finally for gameplay, the item kiosk shopping improvements. So this includes polishing item previews, adding item comparisons, selling functionality, and general usability. This is at 2 out of 11. Just being able to sell stuff alone will be better, and I'm looking forward to that one as well. Now on to AI. Personally, I find AI to be something super important. Ensuring that every NPC we meet feels realistic and strong enough is going to be a challenge, especially when engaging them in combat. But for the AI itself, the improved flight behaviors is at 2 out of 7. The FPS combat movement smoothing, which just improves the AI movement animations, making them look smoother when they change directions or transitioning between cover and avoiding other characters. That's at 7 out of 13. It is these sort of small things that really make the difference. Combat first reactions for AI, so reacting to different events ranging from hearing nearby footsteps to grenades going off. That's at 11 out of 20. Multiple enemy combat behaviors, so this allows for multiple AI reacting to new circumstances together. Target coordination, suppressive fire for flanking, and fighting from multiple cover locations. That's at 6 out of 12. That should be interesting to see when it first starts to come in. And then search behaviors, so making sure that the AI search contextually relevant to the different events. So if they hear gunshots, explosions, enemies seen, for example, plus implementing the behaviors for different alert levels, so slightly suspicious to being in a combat search. And that only needs one more task to complete. It's at 1 out of 2. Now, as I mentioned before, AI is one of the most important elements in Star Citizen. Subsumption it is called, especially as 90% of the population we are going to see will be AI and only 10% likely players. It is great to see how much they are considering, like reactions, teamwork, searching, all this sort of stuff, and I am very excited to see how it feels once it's ready. Obviously it'll be tier 0, so it might feel a little iffy at first, but as they build on it, it'll become excellent. So for ships, the Mustang series, the Beta, Delta, Omega and Gamma are each at 2 out of 11, whereas the Alpha is at 22 out of 65. Now I expect once it's done with the Alpha, they're just generally copying most of the code across to the other ships. We have seen recently on RTV all of the Mustangs and their current status, so I highly suggest checking that out if you haven't already. The Aegis Hammerhead is at 45 out of 112 tasks. The Tumbrel Cyclone variant, we have the AA, which is at 1 out of 36. The RC, which is at 2 out of 11, the TR, which is at 1 out of 11, and the RN, which is also at 2 out of 11. And finally for ships, the Constellation Phoenix is at 27 out of 73. The ships are coming along well, but they seem like they're lagging behind, mainly because I'm sure they're working on object container streaming first and foremost. Anyway, for weapons, the Castak Arms Kana, which is your new assault rifle, is at 8 out of 28. And the Hurston Dynamics Dominance ship weapon is at 3 out of 23, and the Hurston Attrition series is at 4 out of 29. Now, for core tech, we'll start with the simpler ones. Network Entity Streaming, this assists object container streaming for multiplayer, and the Weapon System Refactor, which overhauls and fine-tunes the current weapon system, are both in the polishing phase, so that's 2 complete almost. The FOIP and VoIP integration, which is at 11 out of 45, this brings voice in-game as well as the facial recognition and head tracking, I might add. Environmental Blending Shader, this is the multi-layered shader for objects that supports dirt, sand, ice and organic matter, allowing for objects to believably blend with the environment on the surfaces of the moons and the planets. That's at 7 out of 9, only 2 more tasks for that. Now on to object container streaming. Now this has been about a month since we've had the roadmap update, and I for one have been sat in anticipation each week waiting to hear the latest on object container streaming, so here it is. The code conversion is at 66 tasks out of 79. The game object extensions conversion is at 66 out of 69. Asynchronous background spawning is at 35 out of 38. Background spawning is at 175 out of 198, which means that object container streaming as a whole is at 4 out of 15 tasks complete. Now, as you can see, there's been some really great progress made. I feel very confident that they will get object container streaming complete, which is obviously the priority, as this affects almost everything else. Hurston and its moons are also coming along very well too. But for me, object container streaming and Hurston aside, I'm most excited for the AI combat planet side, VoIP, the FOIP, no-fly zones, and ship item degradation. Each of these not only brings some fun experiences, but also may bring some quality of life improvements as well. Anywho, this is the 3.3 update. Let me know what you're most excited for. I will follow this video up with an overall roadmap update later this week, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on that. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up, plus follow me over on Twitch, where I stream Star Citizen on a regular basis, and have you guys jump in and join me, that'll be perfect. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.